I want to actually make a proper loaf of bread, and I have some bread tins. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to pound out some of the bubbles, put it in the bread tin, and then we're going to let that do a second prove. And what that does is it allows the bread, now that the yeast have done their job and they've blown up this piece of dough. Okay, this was like less than a half. It was it was about this big before, and now it's taking up this entire bowl. And so we're going to take this out, we're going to pound it down some, and we're going to make those yeast work one more time. And we're going to put it in a bread tin and let it pop up into what you and I know as a traditional loaf of bread, with which we can slice, right? It'll be the best thing since sliced bread. So guys, let's get to it. Let's pound out some dough and let's make some bread. As you guys can see, the yeast in the dough is very active at this point. If I give it a good shake, you'll actually see this. Can you see it? This bubble is expanding. And it is the coolest thing to interact with something that is living. Because it is. There are billions of little yeasts at work in this dough right now, just like it was in our sourdough starter. Before we get to that, you might be asking yourself, hey, what kind of flour should I use? Well, this is what we call strong flour, meaning it has a high protein level, or bread flour. And what you want is, if you're making bread, you do want a pretty high protein level. And what that's going to do is give you the building blocks onto which you can build the gluten, okay? The structure of bread. So yes, you need high protein. I happen to use King Arthur. I love that they're based up in Vermont. That's where I grew up. This is unbleached. Now, pretty soon, though, I want to do some other kind of loaves. I want to get into whole wheat. I want to make some quick breads, and I hope you join me on those adventures. But for now, we're using a simple white flour that's unbleached, that has a high protein count, and it's that bread flour. For instance, if your mom or grandma or relative has one of those bread makers, you might have heard them through the years saying, hey, I need some more bread flour so a machine can make your bread. Well, of course, there's no machines here. This is all natural, God-given talent using our hands that we were given. All right, so guys, good strong flour, high protein. I happen to use King Arthur. This is our dough. Now, when you have a risen dough, right, something that's at least doubled in size from when you saw us kneading it for the first time, what we're going to do now is we're going to dump it out onto a lightly floured surface. You might recall that initial kneading while we're building gluten, I was actually using an oiled surface. And there it is, guys. But now we're going to use a little bit of flour. And you can see all the structure in there? See all the little bubbles where the yeast have been doing their jobs? And man, this is a joy to work with. It's actually nice and moist right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to pound out most of those big bubbles. Remember those massive, like Luke visiting Dagobah sized bubbles. And this is very supple, lovely to work with. I have my board scraper here. There's a little bit on the board. There we go. Always have your board scraper at hand and nearby. I'm not going to work this too much, basically. Get a little bit more flour here. Basically, what I want to do right now is I want to form this into one good-sized roll. I wish I had put a little bit less flour now. I like it when I get a little bit of tension on the board. What that tension does is it allows you to build up a nice, smooth surface. What I want to do right now is, and I'm not going to use a scale, I'm going to kind of eyeball this. Right? I want to split this into two. Over here, I have two lightly oiled tins. And in these tins, I want to make those traditional loaves of bread, okay? These slicing type of bread. That's what I want to do this time. Instead of making one giant loaf that kind of looks like this, kind of blow up and get big, and look like a bigger, crusty version of this. Instead of doing that, I want to make some loaves that I can slice. Stuff that I can actually make sliced bread. So what I did is I did an approximate cut there. Okay? Did an eyeball cut. And I bet if I took out my scale, they'd be really similar on my digital scale. So what I'm going to do right now is kind of form these into a ball. As I do that, it's picking up some of the, there's not really much, a little bit of the dough that's left on the board. You see I'm moving my hands around like this. See how nice and smooth that is, guys? See that? Do the same here. I'm moving it. I need to put something there so my cutting board doesn't keep slapping against the bar. All right, and nice and smooth, nice and smooth, nice and smooth. There we go. Nice and smooth. A little bit of stickiness, and again, I want to keep a lot of moisture in this loaf. Beautiful. Okay, there's two. 1, 2. So now I'm going to kind of get them into somewhat of an oblong shape. And I'm going to come over here, drop it in my pan, kind of pat it down slightly in here. And it's going to naturally fill this out, okay? You know that old saying, water finds its own level? Well, this dough will do the same, but yeah, I'm going to give it a little bit of help. Pound it into the corners slightly, okay? Let's grab the next one. There we go. Still have a pretty good skin on that. This one I'm going to actually elongate it a little bit before I put it in. Using my knuckles, I'm tamping it in. By the way, if you want to go this route, you can get these great little bread tins. You can get these on Amazon. I also got proving baskets there, and I have some short, about like 2.5 inch loaf. I mean, these are your more traditional loaf pans. Okay, now of course your local stores will have this kind of stuff, but being as sometimes I don't leave the house very much, I went ahead and went the Amazon route. So yes, these are lightly oiled, and now I have 1, 2, using that one loaf, turning into 2. At this point, guys, we're going to let these prove again. That final prove, and what that's going to do is the yeast are going to get back into action, okay? The yeast are going to start working again and expand, and hopefully we can now double that again. There's also one additional rise of our dough, and that happens when the heat hits it in the oven. But for now, we're going to let the yeast do their job. And there you have it, guys. This is it. 1, 2 loaves of bread. We're going to let these prove and then come back, and if it's like last time, it could be 24 hours. But for you, it'll be instantaneous. So join me next time as we bake our loaves of bread. Guys, I am Eric. This is the Loudboy Experience. You guys have a good night.